focusing is on believing the sweet life. I'm in the conversation. I'll be the photos for the night. I'm sitting all around the station. I like to think that we had it all. We grew up to a better place. But I never answered the call. Oh, baby, why did you run away? I was there for you in the darkest time. I was there for you in the darkest time. But I wonder where we are when I was down my knees. And you said you had my back, so I wonder where we are. The arrows you took came back to me. So I'm following the map that leads to you. The map that leads to you. Ain't nothing I can do. The map that leads to you. Following to you. The map that leads to you. Ain't nothing I can do. The map that leads to you. Following. I hear your voice in my sleep at night. Hard to resist temptation. Cause something just come over me. Now I can't get over you. No, I just can't get over you. I was there for you in the darkest times. I was there for you in the darkest night. But I wonder where we are when I was down my knees. And you said you had my back, so I wonder where we are. The arrows you took came back to me. So I'm following the map that leads to you. The map that leads to you. Ain't nothing I can do. The map that leads to you. Following to you. The map that leads to you. Ain't nothing I can do. The map that leads to you. Oh, oh, oh. Oh, oh, oh. Yeah. Oh, 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 for you, in your darkest time. For you, in your darkest night. For you, in your darkest time. For you, in your darkest night. But I wonder where we are when I was down my knees. And you said you had my back, so I wonder where we are. All the roads you took came back to me. So I'm following the map that leads to you. The map that leads to you. Ain't nothing I can do. The map that leads to you. Following to you. The map that leads to you. Ain't nothing I can do. The map that leads to you. Following.
You take Colorado if you take her. Closes the door before the winter lets the cold in. And wonders if her love is strong enough to make him stay. Dances by the taillight, shining through the window pane. He said, I wanna see you again, but I'm stuck in colder weather. Maybe tomorrow will be better. Can I call you then? She said, you're a rambling man. You ain't ever gonna change. You got a gypsy soul to blame, and you were born for leaving. At a truck stop diner just outside of Lane. The night is black, coffee he was drinking. And in the waitress eyes he sees the same old light is shining. He thinks of Colorado and the girl he left behind him. He said, I wanna see you again, but I'm stuck in colder weather. Maybe tomorrow will be better. Then I call you then. She said you're a rambling man. You ain't ever gonna change. You got a gypsy soul to blame, and you were born for leaving. Born for leaving. Well, it's a winding road when you're in the lost and found. You're a lover, I'm a runner. We go round.
Good evening. Welcome. Hello.
Hello.
Y'all are quiet. You got quiet.
Yeah,
My name is Kimberly Cornelson. I'm the executive director for Rogers Lee WT.
Hello, everyone. What a great crowd. Oh, yeah, clap for, yes, clap for Tina, yes. That means I know you're going to clap for me, too. That's why I did that. I'm just kidding. My name is Rick Hossel. I am honored to serve as the faculty director for Rogers Lee. And thank y'all for being here. What a good-looking crew.
Yes, thank
wonderful.
you. We want to welcome you tonight to the doing that. We wanted to make sure everybody got in and got some food. So thank you for being here this evening. We're excited for our senior scholars to present Leadership Summit for you. They've worked extremely hard. They're prepared and they're ready, and they're going to do an awesome job. I want to just mention very quickly, if you are not familiar with the Lead WT program, I just want to say very quickly what an amazing program and opportunity it is. If you're here tonight as a student, we want to encourage you to look into applying to the program. We have applications open right now until February 25th at midnight. That's the deadline. So we'd love for you to consider applying. Lead WT is a leadership program. It's a 2-year academic program. We do fall under the academic umbrella, and that's new for us, and we're excited about that change. Lead really focuses on 3 different areas. It focuses on leadership development in class on Fridays with Dr. Hossel. Did you introduce yourself
Rick.
as doctor?
I prefer
You
Rick.
didn't.
Yeah, Rick.
This is actually Dr. Hossel. I just thought of that. Yes, give him a hand. So students are with him learning all things leadership in the class Friday mornings. And then our junior scholars are with me during the flip time of that. And we're working on community service projects that they work with nonprofits in the local community. And then our senior scholars project, the capstone, is Leadership Summit. So this is their capstone project they're going to present to you tonight. And then also we have amazing opportunities with networking, internship opportunities, and just real life applications. So if you're a student here tonight and you're interested in LEAD, please find one of us afterwards. We'd love to share more about it.
Yep.
Okay.
Thank you, Kimberly. Okay, 2 quick stories. Before we get to the stories, we have a very special guest in the room. She was a celebrity when she walked in. I was telling her I was at a PGA tournament and Tiger Woods was playing in the tournament, and we're all around the driving range, and all of a sudden the crowd starts going, Tiger's here, Tiger's here, Tiger's here. And I was standing over there about 30 minutes ago, and I heard, Missy's here, Missy's here, Missy's here. So we want to make a special recognition of Missy Macon, who has been with LEAD for 8 years. You were the, stand up, stand up. Also, I've seen several alum. So if you are a LEAD alum in the room, please stand up so we can recognize you.
Yes.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, 2 quick stories. LEAD was established in 2012 through the generosity of Dyke and Terry Rogers, extreme generosity. In 2012, Dyke and Terry gave an initial gift of $1 million to start LEAD, to establish LEAD. In 2022, at the 10-year reunion, they matched that gift and gave another $1 million. So we are very blessed and very grateful, and today the LEAD endowment totals $3 million. So we're very, very grateful for that. So Dyke and Terry aren't here, but can we give them a hand? They'll see the recording or something else. And then also the second story is from 2012 to 2019, Leadership Summit involved an outside speaker. Like someone from across the nation would be, a keynote person would be invited in, and the senior scholars would basically, they'd schedule it and just facilitate the summit. They did not present. However, In 2019, all of that changed. And I still remember the day in the summer of 2019, Missy and I were down in the lead suite, and we're planning for the next year. And she looks at me and she says, "You know Leadership Summit?" It's like, "Yes, I'm familiar." She goes, "The lead scholars need to present at Leadership Summit." And I was like, "Excuse me?" I said, "Are you sure?" And she said, "Yes, I'm sure." So the change happened in 2019, and that change is one of the strongest changes to LEAD overall, and it has definitely taken LEAD, the program of LEAD, to a higher level. And it's been taken to a higher level because all of the groups of senior scholars who have presented since 2019 have done a phenomenal job. And as Kimberly mentioned a while ago, this group has worked extremely hard, and we have no doubt that this group tonight is going to do the same thing. So we're excited to hear from them.
Okay, before we get started, our Missy, if you'll come up, we're going to have her draw right here. We're going to do a drawing and a door prize before we get started. We'll do one at the end also. Can you get in? Yeah. Anika Wynn. Yes, come up please to the front. Yes. Thank you. Thank you. You get to pick one of our WT blankets. Yes. Wow. Yes. Which one would you like? The black. Okay, perfect. Thank you. Thank you for being here. Okay, without further ado, I'm going to invite the first group of LEAD scholars to the stage.
Good evening and welcome to the 2024 Leadership Summit. My name is Cole Myers and I'm joined on stage with Ivy, Lily, Hayden, and Anderson. And today we are going to bust the myth that young leaders can't lead. Now on to Ivy.
Hi everyone, my name is Ivy, and today we'll be talking about youth leadership and the ties that come with it. We started by exploring multiple leadership theories, such as the transformational theory, the contingency theory, and the leader-member exchange theory. We also applied some real-life situations to further debunk the harshness found in traditional leadership. So to start, leadership is originally defined as having the power or authority to lead a certain group to a certain end goal. But as time goes on and history starts to show us that leadership is more of an art and not necessarily a science. So I'm going to explore with you two leadership theories today, starting with the transformational theory and then the leader-member exchange theory. The transformational theory is defined as having interpersonal relationships between a leader and who they lead. So that would be their followers, so it could be a boss, and who they employ. As traditional thinking starts to tell us that interpersonal relationships between leaders and their followers can be a waste of time. The transformational theory then goes on to tell us that those engaging in those interpersonal relationships are more likely to have higher and more successful results. The transformational theory also goes on to tell us that it is important for us to encourage confidence in youth despite their age, education, and experiences. As we age, our beliefs start to change, and this is when the youth is most sensitive to what they believe in. That sensitivity is the open door to conversations and change and ultimately progress. Next, I will tell you about the leader-member exchange theory. The leader-member exchange theory starts off by telling us that high-quality relationships are going to yield the best progress or results. It also goes on to tell us about in-groups and out-groups. So what are in-groups and out-groups? In-groups are those who feel included in what they are a part of, and out-groups are the opposite. Those who don't feel like they have a drive or they don't feel like they are connected to the group's end goal. So how do we fix those in-groups and out-groups? So ultimately, it's empathy and a sense of understanding is the first step to one day get rid of these in-groups and out-groups. Because as many of us would first think that these in-groups are great, but at the end of the day, it could be considered a clique, and we don't want in groups, nor do we want out groups. We want a happy middle. Now I will pass it on to my colleague Cole.
Thank you, Ivy. So I would like to introduce two people that have experience as young leaders. First, I would like everybody to close your eyes and picture this. You are in a valley and you're next to your fellow soldiers. And across the valley, there's a huge army on the other side. And there's a 7-foot tall man who's yelling at you, screaming at you, trying to come across the valley. You're probably thinking, I'm scared, I don't want to be here. Then out from behind you, this teenage boy comes out with a sling and a rock. And he takes the sling and he hits the giant in the forehead with the rock, and the giant falls. You can open your eyes now. This is David. David was brave because he stepped out and he displayed servant leadership because he wanted what's best for his fellow soldiers. He also had the faith that he had in God, but he also had the faith in himself that he could actually go out and he could slay this giant. Now I'd like to introduce Sadie Robertson. You probably heard of the Robertson family lately because they just came out with the movie The Blind. It's a great movie and I highly recommend it. But Sadie goes to college campuses, symposiums, and across the world to teach and to help the younger generation step forward and be brave and to become leaders themselves. Sadie has servant leadership as well because she wants to help the younger generation come forward and step out of their comfort zone and become leaders. She also has the faith in God, but also the faith in herself that she can encourage people like us. I would like to end with a quote, with a Bible verse. 1 Timothy 4:12. Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for believers in speech and conduct and love and faith and in purity. Now I'd like to pass it on to Lily.
Thanks, Cole. So usually the belief that older leaders are generally better comes from the idea of wisdom and experience. So as we were researching about this experience and this wisdom, I looked into it a little more and I realized that leadership skills and management skills are two very different things. So let's talk about it a little bit. So management skills focus on things, control, manage change, and use authority. So management skills tend to be what numbers are we looking for? Are we using these numbers to make more profit? Leadership skills, on the other hand, focus on people. They empower, develop change, and use influence. So all of these skills they want to empower people, but also do a good job at working. I'm sure you all have had a boss that you have not been fond of. I'm sure I can ask the room, and the first thing when you quit the job is probably like, I don't ever want to be like this person. So I talked about these skills. So how do we build these leadership skills? Look at all these beautiful people. So if you don't know, this is all of us. We all were in extracurricular activities in high school. We learned a lot in these extracurricular activities. We learned leadership skills, responsibility, working with a team, and we still do it now at the college level in Rogers Lee WT. We're able to
have these good leadership skills because of all of these programs that are available to us, and we're so grateful and thankful that we have these programs. Like I said, we've learned a lot about not only ourselves and how to be good leaders, but how to lead people. Now, I'm going to pass it over to Hayden to talk a little bit more.
Thank you. So first of all, I want you guys to think about, in your own head, the real world. What is the real world? More importantly, when did the real world start for you? Some of you might think the real world started whenever you finished your education and entered the workforce. Others might think the real world started whenever you moved out of your parents' house and were living on your own at first. But I think the real world starts whenever you stepped foot out of the classroom. Young leaders possess qualities other than work experience that give them a leg up. However, due to biased stereotypes stimulated from older generations, work experience tends to get overvalued while leadership experience tends to be overlooked. Young leaders possess qualities other than leadership, or other than work experience, and as Lily mentioned before, extracurriculars during academics provide real-world experience in a different environment where the societal norms are differentiated by a hairline. So, yet we're still dealt, wait. My fault. The work experience, or the leadership experience that we all gain during extracurriculars should be taken into deep consideration on any job application or a resume. However, us young leaders are still dealt a hand at age-biased discrimination regardless of our emotional intelligence. So, what can we do to draw a better hand without the gamble? Or in other words, how can we cleanse the workforce of these malignant behaviors of age discrimination? A great place to start is a reassessment of the team's values. The team's values should correlate with a company or organization's goals to reach success. The next part is, this is a two-part, is unbiased leadership and unbiased followership. With that, you might be thinking, how do you know who's a leader and who should be a follower? Well, this is the second part, through strengths tests and personality quizzes, you can learn a lot about yourself, but not only about yourself, about your peers around you and the people that you're working with. For example, this will establish role clarity in any given situation where a person, I'll give you an example, sorry. So a company needs to conduct business with another company. People who have an analytical strength should be paired with someone who has communicating strengths. Together, this could be build its own strength of negotiation. So one company will be able to negotiate better than the other company to get what they need to be successful. Another point is strategic thinkers. Strategic thinkers can be paired with people with executing strengths. This will, so we got strategic thinkers on one hand and executing strengths on the other hand. The strategic thinkers will think of an idea, a plan that we can use to benefit the team or company, organization as a whole, and people with the executing strength paired with that strategic thinker will put the plan into action and get the ball rolling. And on to Aniston with our concluding slides.
Thank you, Hayden. Okay, so this is Marilyn Mitchell. She's a psychologist that did research over youth leadership. So one quote that I took from her research is that there's no single path to leadership success.
So that means that you don't have to be a certain age, or you don't have to come from a certain background, or you even don't even have to be born into leadership. So what can you do as a young leader? Be confident. Tonight you'll see all of us come up here, and as nerve-wracking as it is, you can probably see me shaking. We have to learn how to be confident and be able to give y'all those wise words. And as well, the older generations being discriminating, we have to be confident to show them that we can do what we know we can do, and we can do it well. And using your strengths. So as Hayden had said earlier, here at West Texas A&M University, we have the opportunity to do a Clifton Strengths Finders test. And what that is just finding your strengths and learning about them and being able to utilize them in the work field. Learning those in college and the younger you are helps you when you get older, so you don't have to learn what you're good at and what you're not good at, and be able to work with people that may not be as good at this strength and you're really good at it. Last but definitely not least is investing in your peers to help create more young leaders. So we talk about young leadership, but what is it if we don't help one another? So we have to be able to want to help each other and give wise words to each other. Looking at the younger generations as well, we want to be mentors to them and show them that it's okay to be a young leader and it's okay to step into that big position and want to do those big things as well. So, as young leaders, we have the capability to impact the future and just make it better. So I'm going to leave you with this question to just reflect on. How do you want your leadership from this time to be remembered? And that is our Myth Busted. Thank you.
For as long as there have been leaders,
Good evening, everyone. My name is Riley, and up here with me I have Yelena and Race. Our other team member, Peyton, unfortunately could not be here with us tonight, but he has been working with us on our presentation for the past 2 semesters with us, so he's going to go ahead and start us off with a video.
For as long as there have been leaders, there has been the presumption that all great leaders share the exact same strengths. We are here to disprove that and to prove that all leaders have the ability to be great no matter their strengths. Meryl Streep put it perfectly when she said, "Whatever makes you different or weird, that is your strength." Not every person is going to have the same set of strengths, and that is okay. A leader's success is going to be dependent on how their strengths are used. Here at West Texas A&M, we use something called the Clifton Strengths Test to determine a student's strengths. With there being a total of 34 individual strengths, they created 4 domains to better specialize each one of these strengths. The domain I will be going over is executing, or more specifically, how to lead with executing strengths. Executors are seen as being able to get things done. They have a natural tendency to work hard. And that ability to work hard allows them to find a solution to almost any problem. Maika Lebrant, who is a Clifton Strengths coordinator, put it perfectly when she said she sees an executor rolling their sleeves up and leading through effort. Someone I see as a prime example of someone who leads through effort is Wendy Kopp. Wendy Kopp has achiever and responsibility in her top 5 strengths, which makes her an executor. She is the founder and CEO of Teach for America. With her being the CEO of that, she can almost get anything done. But where did she start? She went to Princeton, and while she was there, she saw a distinct set of two groups, the public school kids and the private school kids. The private school kids were flying through Princeton easily, while the public school kids were struggling. Wendy felt her tear at her heartstrings. She didn't want any kid, any student to struggle no matter where they came from. So she developed Teach for America. And now she's impacting over 3 million students. She once said, fixing the inequality of opportunity. And I believe she leads and lives through this idea almost every day. I will now hand it over to Yelena to talk about influencing.
Alrighty, I'm Yelena. I'll be talking about the influencing domain. Those who lead by influencing tend to prioritize certain projects that influence their peers or organizations that they are in. As you can see, the following strengths that are in the influencing domain include activator, command, communication, competition, maximizer, self-assurance, significance, and woo. Of the strengths that are up there, I have significance, and a lot of the time it can get me in trouble because I want to stand out. I want people to see who I am, but a lot of the times that can get me in trouble. And when that happens, it's considered a strength that is in the basement, but when it's good, it can be in the balcony. And what I mean by these is that when your strength is in the basement, it can become a barrier to your success. Sorry. But when it is in the balcony, it becomes, oh my God, it helps you at your best. It brings who you are as an individual and shows everybody that you can do it and that you are a leader. Apart from this, I decided to speak about Mary Kay Ash. I'm not sure if any of y'all are familiar with who she is, but she created a cosmetic brand to empower women and influence them to go out into the workforce, to independently work for themselves, as well as help women influence other women, which in turn created a cycle of influence and empowerment and confidence within women. A quote that I use today that I've been using very recently is, don't limit yourself. Many people limit themselves to what they think they can do. You can go as far as your mind lets you. Now I'll pass it on to Riley, who will be talking about strategic thinking.
Thank you, Yelena. As she said, I will be talking about the strategic domain and how people can lead within that domain. As you can see on the screen behind me, the 8 strengths that are under that domain are analytical, context, futuristic, ideation, input, intellection, learner, and strategic. Just by a show of hands, if you've taken the test, do you have any of these in your top 5? Okay, so good amount of people. I personally have 3 of mine are all strategic out of my top 5. People who lead with strategic strengths are more quiet and shy. They're going to be sitting kind of in the back of the room, just observing and watching. And this is because they are data seekers and data lookers. So they like to take in all the information that they can from the situation they're in before they act on things. Strategic leaders like to take their lessons from the past to create a vision for the future. If you look up behind me on the screen again, I have 5 movie posters. Another show of hands if you've even recognized one of these movie posters. Okay, so pretty much everybody, right? Every single one of these movies was directed by Steven Spielberg. Steven Spielberg is a very well-known and very successful movie director. I specifically researched the movie E.T. and how he directed that movie. So each night before they would go to shoot scenes of the movie, he would sit down with a piece of paper and a notepad and a pen, and he would write down every single detail that he could, from camera angles to where each actor and actress would need to stand that day and exactly what everybody would need to be doing, all the numbers that go into it, everything. He would just write it all out on a piece of paper, and then he would go that next day to when they were shooting the movie, and that's how he would lead, and he was very, very successful in this way. He is a great example of someone who used their strategic strengths to lead and influence a big group of people. So in conclusion, strategic leaders are resilient, and they take their setbacks and their failures, and they reevaluate situations and use what they learn to move forward. I will now pass it to Race, who will talk about influencing.
All right. Thank you, Riley. So, like Riley said, my name is Race Birdwell, and thanks, guys. Security, get these guys out of here. So relationship building leadership. What does this mean? Real quick, let's get a show of hands, and I'd like to hear from the crowd, what does it mean to you? Seems about right. Looks like we're all on the same page here. You guys don't know what to say, neither do I. So, no, but in all seriousness, Clifton Strengths defines this as the ability to enhance and maintain connections. So I'll tell you guys a quick story on how I've used this in my personal life. So by using my relationship building strengths in Rogers Lee WT, in my interview, it just felt like a normal conversation. It didn't feel like your traditional interview. It felt seamless. This has also helped me make some friends. Friends provide connections. Connections give job opportunities, and job opportunities open doors that you never even knew were there. And, you know, let me find my long life best friend, Rick Hassel. So let's dig a little bit deeper into the strengths and weaknesses of relationship building leadership. So starting with our strengths, we have improved communication. Whenever your team trusts each other, you feel like you can freely express yourself and trust everyone's decisions. Next, we would have, must have not been important. Okay, now with our weaknesses. So over-personalization can be a weakness. This is basically whenever you have a little bit too much fun and don't get any work done. I know you guys are thinking about, that's me right now, right? Yeah, sorry, I try. And lastly, decision paralysis. And you don't want to step on toes. When it comes down to making the tough decisions, you don't want to step on toes. So why is knowing your strengths and weaknesses so important? By knowing these, you'll better be able to effectively use your leadership. Someone who does this exceptionally well, Missy Macon. Dogs gotta eat. So you might be thinking, what does this even mean? I don't eat. What was that? Hey, all right, man. So I don't know what it means. This guy knows what it means. Luis, you started saying this. What does it mean? Luis doesn't even know what it means. So I Googled it. Dogs gotta eat is symbolic of someone at the top of their game, someone of leader and influence. And if that doesn't describe Missy best, I don't know what does. We love you, Missy. We miss you. No, but so Missy taught us a lot of, and real quick, let me mention, she said this quote, but we have a couple other notable quotes, like, Race, you need to show up on time. Race, turn in your homework. Come on. And wake up, Race. Race, wake up. No, but Missy Macon taught us a lot of valuable lessons. And she taught us one thing about leadership. It's an individualized occurrence. Different skills lead to different pathways towards effective leadership. More on this in the conclusion with Yelena. Right.
I don't know if I can top that. But with what Peyton said in the very beginning, our myth was all leaders have the same strength. And as you can see, with everybody up here, we definitely do not have all the same strengths, but we are all leaders. As you can see on your table, there should be a piece of paper. It has a scan code on there. If you are a student at WT, I highly recommend taking the Clifton Strengths Assessment. It will allow you to understand who you are as an individual, as well as help you in the workforce, knowing what you are best at. And to bring everything together, while executors realize visions, influencers energize change, strategic thinkers design the future, and relationship builders guarantee that this path is collaborative. Myth busted.
Hello, everybody. Wow, this seems a little more serious now. I'm Crystal. These are my colleagues, Abby, Emma, Kenzie, and Allie, and we'll be talking about a few myths pertaining to leadership, but most specifically in regards to mental health, personalities, and gender. Before we begin, I'd like to start with the question. It's widely known that leaders come from a wide array of backgrounds, so why do we continue to believe certain stereotypes when it comes to these topics? Our hope with this presentation is to bring awareness to some of these misconceptions, and hopefully by bringing more attention to them, we can change the stigma surrounding these topics. Now, Emma will talk about the importance of diverse leaders.
Crystal. Okay, my name's Emma, and I'm going to talk to you guys about personality. The false statement that all great leaders share the same personality trait is commonly heard around the world. If all great leaders were to share the same personality trait, there would be no setbacks or growth to have been made. Each personality trait comes with their own strengths and weaknesses. When working together, we need to learn how to correlate those strengths and counteract those weaknesses in order to complete any group project successfully. One way to do this is through the Clifton Strengths Test. As Elena's group mentioned before, the Clifton Strengths Test helps identify one's personality traits and the strengths and weaknesses they attain. Our research has also proven that there is a common thread between effective leaders and understanding your own emotional intelligence. So first off, let's define emotional intelligence. The scholarly article that models emotional intelligence states it as the non-cognitive competencies, capabilities, and skills that influence an individual's ability to cope successfully with environmental demands and pressures. Each leadership style deals with these environmental demands and pressures differently. In the Leadership Theories and Styles scholarly article, it states, like one that does not fit all heads, similarly, one style does not fit all situations. In this article, it also talks about the 3 different leadership styles: autocratic, democratic, and laissez-faire. Autocratic makes the decisions on their own, while democratic uses their subordinates to make their decisions, and laissez-faire has the subordinates make the decisions fully without stepping in. In our group project last year, I feel like all 3 different leadership styles were in play. We had many different leadership styles in play, but unfortunately there were some members who had the same leadership styles, which did create conflict. We were able to overcome this conflict by the different leadership styles who had the counteracting of the weaknesses and correlating those strengths, and we were able to complete the group project successfully. Self-awareness is key to understanding emotional intelligence. Once you are self-aware with the qualities you possess and the qualities others possess, you will be able to complete any group project successfully. Like Dr. Rick Hassel says, leadership is an art, not a science. Once you understand where you fall short and may need assistance, and once you understand where you shine, you will be able to complete any task at hand. Now on to Abby with more about personality.
Yep. Okay. I'm Abby. I'm going to expand a little bit more on personality and leadership. A study was conducted to determine the relationship between effective leadership and personality types. Within this study, 2 different personality types were used, introverts and extroverts. A common misconception in leadership is that all leaders will share the same personality type, but after reviewing this research, that's not the case. Instead, there was a set of shared, learned character traits that each effective leader possessed. This further drives the point that emotional intelligence is incredibly important to effective leadership. A really great example of this in my life was this past summer. I had the opportunity to break into investment banking in Boston, Massachusetts. And if you know anything about the industry or the East Coast, you know that it can be a little bit more fast-paced and cutthroat. I spent a lot of time trying to figure out how I'd fit into this new environment and new industry, but thankfully, the people in Boston were more than willing to tell me exactly how I was different from them. But I was working in a very interesting field of banking. I was at the intersection of technology and sales. And both of these segments are driven by two very different people. On one hand, you have your sales representatives who it is their job to be an extrovert. They are constantly talking to clients and trying to woo them into a sale. On the other end, you have technology experts who are incredibly intelligent but a little more introverted, and they are both together driving this segment and driving our economy, and it's the reason that they're able to filter through nearly $50 trillion a day in that bank. They work well together because they're able to be emotionally intelligent and cross these barriers. I'm sharing this because in our lives, especially now, we're going to encounter people that are different than us, people that have a different view on the world, different personality types, values, and we'll be able to break through these barriers if we can characterize ourselves as people who are eager to succeed, willing to connect with people, and open to new experiences. I'm going to pass it over to Mackenzie to discuss mental health and leadership.
Thank you. Alrighty, whenever I think of emotional intelligence, I am reminded of this quote. When it comes to emotional intelligence, it's something leaders learn over time with experience. A valuable leader is going to be someone who goes through a life-changing experience and uses it to connect with others while maintaining an appropriate atmosphere. A leader who truly understands emotional intelligence is able to respect and control not only their own emotions, but the emotions of others as well. Balancing your emotions while being realistic is powerful, but shows intellectual stimulation. So on the board here, I have the 4 characters of what it means to be a transformational leader. The one that I want to focus on is intellectual stimulation. Showing intellectual stimulation shows that as a leader, we have the capability to accept the challenges of balancing our emotions and being able to make difficult decisions. This may just be facing a difficult decisions and allowing the thoughts and emotions of other peers and friends around you and letting that play a big role in your final decision. Taking into consideration everyone's emotions allows for a safe and happy environment. Now, we've all heard the statement, you need to make a great expression. So, although this is normally focused on what you wear, it also goes back to how you act and the facial expression that you wear. Leaders who use a facial expression have to be cautious of their audience. There are 2 types of leaders in this world, task-oriented leaders and relationship-oriented leaders. Task-oriented leaders are going to be more focused on being factual and neutral in tone, where relationship-oriented leaders are going to focus more on the empathy and the mindset of the group. Maintaining a positive mindset, even during hardships, is extremely important for yourself and your team. I'm going to pass it on to Crystal, who's going to talk about burnout and mental health.
Thank you, Kenzie. So I'll be talking about how Kenzie said, the myth that great leaders don't experience burnout. So what is burnout? I'm sure we all know, but the scientific term for it is the, oh my God, I'm so sorry. Hold on. It's often been described as a syndrome of physical and emotional exhaustion linked to the development of negative self-concept, negative job attitude, and the loss of concern and feelings for your peers. Also, I'm sure we all know the typical symptoms, which would include the lack of energy to be productive, becoming irritable with your peers, and finding it hard to concentrate. So that leads me to my next question. Are great leaders automatically free of experiencing burnout? Sadly, the answer is no. Nobody's immune to burnout, but the good thing is that it can be prevented. According to the American Journal of Health Sciences, certain leadership styles have been linked to a decrease in burnout, such as those who practice transformational leadership. This is due to the fact that transformational leaders tend to increase their followers' motivation by promoting a positive outlook of the future, and they also promote positive feelings. This was further proven on a study done on 102 physicians and nurses in a public hospital in Baja California, Mexico, where it was concluded that transformational leaders do experience less burnout than their peers. So again, remember, nobody's immune to burnout, but it can be prevented if you just do transformational leadership. So now on to Allie, who will speak about gender in leadership.
Thank you, Crystal. Myth. Great leaders are of the same gender. I want you to take a minute and picture a great leader. You might be thinking of a president, a philosopher, a CEO. I think that we can all recognize when it comes to leadership, we have many more examples of men to choose from than women. So why is that? Is it because one gender is just more naturally gifted at leadership? To begin my research, I asked myself 2 questions. Do gender stereotypes even exist? And if so, how do they affect leaders? The first study I'm going to talk about was done in 2010 by Harvard. Researchers presented respondents with 2 job application profiles. Half of respondents received an application by the name of Heidi. The second half received an altered profile in which the name Heidi was changed to Howard. After reading up on the profiles, researchers asked respondents to describe each applicant and if they were likely to hire them. Despite these 2 applications being identical in every single way, except for the name, the results given were shocking. Respondents consistently rated Heidi and Howard as equally competent, but Howard was a smart and likable leader, whereas Heidi was viewed as aggressive and overbearing. Therefore, respondents were much more likely to hire when the name was Howard, conversely with Heidi. So yes, this answered my first 2 questions. Gender stereotypes do exist, and yes, they do actively affect leaders, mainly women from obtaining opportunities they might otherwise possess. After that, I asked myself a third and kind of scary question. If these stereotypes are so strongly held, are they true? For the sake of simplicity, the second study I'm going to talk about defined an effective leader as having both a high concern for production and a high concern for people. This means that a leader has enough emotional intelligence to properly manage a team and enough competency in their industry to do well. Researchers went into many organizations, and they asked employees to describe men and women's expected concern for these variables. In general, employees expected men to only exhibit a high concern for production and women to exhibit only a high concern for people. This reflects the false stereotype that all women are emotional leaders only focus.
Variables. Employees from every level of C-suite to general manager. Employees of women describe their leader's style as both high concern for people and a high concern for production. In the same way, employees of men describe their leader as also high concern for production and very close to high concern for people. In the end, this and many other studies found that there was no statistical difference in leadership style based off of gender alone. This answers my last question. No, these stereotypes are in no way true. These false perpetuating stereotypes should no longer cloud the world of leadership. This myth has been debunked. I'm going to hand it back to Crystal to wrap this up.
It's my last time speaking, I promise. But third time's a charm, I hope. To end, we'd like to know we're aware that sometimes it does take more than a quick presentation to change your mind on subjects such as these, especially when the information is coming from a group of young college students. But we do hope we give you a new perspective. And we'd like to thank you for taking the time to come out and listen to us. And we encourage you to embrace our differences as leaders rather than finding ways to pin us against each other. Thank you.
Good evening, my name is Michaela, and today I have with me Bryce, Kaylee, and Elizabeth, and we are going to be trying to debunk the myth that leadership is black and white. There it is. Sorry. So, the phrase black and white is often discussed as the ideal situation or the preferred motive for leadership. When leaders hear the phrase black and white, it alludes to a sense of clarity and precision, when in reality, leaders are so often placed in scenarios that break that mold of clarity and precision. So how do we as leaders navigate this swirling world of imperfections and grayness? The gray of the world is about striving towards a transformative mindset and even a transformational leadership style. Bryce is going to take a moment to take us through a scenario where gray is necessary.
There we go. Yeah? Okay, cool. We've all heard the expression that leadership is black and white. The test has an answer of A, B, C, or D. It's this or that. But is that really the case? So I want us to kind of slow down and imagine this. You're walking along a path and you find a runaway train barreling down the track. On the track, there are 5 individuals. Before you, there is a switch that allows you to redirect the train to one person. So what do? Do you save the lives of one individual, or do you save the lives of 5? 1, 5. Oh, we'll keep going. 1, 5. Oh man, this is rough. Okay. All right, that's a little easy, so let's kind of switch things up, okay? So instead of just one individual, this is a family or a loved one. Instead of 5 individuals, these are the worst of the worst murderous criminals. How does our decision change? Do you save a family member, or do you save 5 murderous criminals? It changes. We changed 3 words. What really changed there? These are still the lives of 5 individuals versus 1. See, using this, when I came to college, I had a lot of expectations. I expected everyone woke up early in the morning, you ironed your clothes, you made your bed, it had to be a certain way. And boy, was I in for a surprise. My first day, my roommate, I woke up at 8 a.m., I look over, oh man, he's still asleep. So I go to class and I come back and man, he's still asleep. His bed's not made. He didn't iron his clothes. What's the deal? That's not how this works. Well, there's something really good about pausing and giving people grace. See, we all come from different places, but being willing to recognize that not everyone knows the exact same information you do. And that's okay. Being able to give people the benefit of the doubt and see where they come from changes the way you consider people. And now on to Kaylee to talk about that consideration.
Thank you. Ooh, mine's on. So, as many groups before me have mentioned, the transformational leadership model has multiple different components and is seen as a new approach to leadership in recent years. However, today I'd like to key in on 4 specific, However, instead of focusing on those 4 main components, I'd like to key in on one in particular: individualized consideration. Individualized consideration is the extent to which a leader attends to each of their followers' needs. Through this, transformation is first seen through the leader's behavior or how they impact others. Their perspective and behavior transforms into not only satisfying needs or completing a task. These needs include mentorship, empathy, purpose, and skills and strengths. As a mentor, a leader is seen as a coach or a guide for the follower. Through empathy, they provide continual encouragement and support. Through purpose, they empower the follower to take on responsibility and their growing interest to help build upon their skills or strengths. Yet, as leaders, we can't expect all of our followers to need the same kind of mentorship, encouragement, or empowerment for their specific purpose or specific skill. Each has their own individual differences in developing and elevating their potential to reach their higher levels of performance. Not all of our followers communicate in the same way. Each are at different developmental stages in their lives, and what is viewed by one as individualized consideration could be a complete lack of it from another. Therefore, as many things in our lives, our followers are not all the same or on one side or the other. We all see the world through our own lens, through our own point of view, and in our own way. Therefore, as good leaders, it is necessary for us to understand the importance of adapting and changing our own perceptions to better accommodate those who follow us. Now, I'd like to pass it on to Michaela to discuss her myth.
Thank you, Kaylee. So by a show of hands, who here has heard of Vince Lombardi? Okay, fitting since we've just finished the Super Bowl. But when you think of Vince Lombardi, who do you think of? What do you think of? You may think of the Super Bowl Lombardi Trophy, or a 1971 NFL Hall of Fame inductee, or even possibly one of the greatest NFL coaches of all time. Vince Lombardi was one of the most influential leaders in American athletics, so it would only make sense that he was born a leader, right? Wrong. Vince Lombardi said it himself, leaders are made, they are not born. Vince Lombardi and many other influential American leaders hold true to the knowledge that leadership is not something easily accomplished. We don't wake up one morning, roll out of bed, and declare that we are great leaders. Leadership isn't a product of lineage, wealth, or DNA. Leadership takes time, trial, and error to perfect. It is a product of work ethic, emotional intelligence, and proper guidance from leaders before us. And even then, the leaders that we look up to most still make mistakes, but use them as opportunities for learning and growth. In an article from the International Journal of Applied Research, researchers recount 9 top ways to improve leadership skills. Some of these include improving communication skills, maintaining a positive attitude, motivating others to greatness, as well as continuing to improve and educate yourself. Now, these are just a few ways that we can improve communication skills. We're not born. We use these tactics to create great leaders within ourselves. These are rules that we can follow, themes that we can stick to create great leaders within ourselves. We're not born into it. We are created into leaders. To give you a real-life example of this, I'm going to show you a study conducted at West Point Military Academy. Now, this study aimed to answer 3 main questions, but for the purpose of this summit, we're going to focus on the data collection from the first question, which was, do military officer cadets grow or change in their basic level of psychosocial development while at the academy? Now, in order to determine this, they used Keegan's theory of human development, which emphasizes the universal underlying mental structures that determine how people construct their understanding of the external world in relation to themselves. Now, for measurement purposes, they created 6 stages of human development from stage 0 to stage 5. When the data collection was found, they found that from year 1 to year 2, there was a little bit of growth, but it wasn't very significant. However, from year 2 to year 4, there was a drastic jump in those Keegan levels, with some cadets even being in levels 4 and 5. Now, this just goes to show that we grow and change as leaders, just as these cadets grew and changed in their tenure at the academy. They learned how to become great leaders while at the academy. They didn't show up on day 1 as these big, influential military leaders. They were created into great leaders throughout the academy, from their learning from their professors, from their lectures. Everything at the academy taught them to become great leaders. These cadets are living proof that leaders grow and change in their careers, just as these cadets learned the black, white, and most importantly, the gray that is leadership today. I'm going to leave you off with another quote from a leader that we all know and love, John F. Kennedy, who said, "Leadership and learning are indispensable to one another." Now I'll pass it on to Elizabeth to talk about leadership as an art.
Thank you, Michaela. I will be talking about why leadership is an art, not a science. When doing research on this article and this topic, there were many articles stating that it was both an art and a science. But after gathering all my thoughts and all the facts, it is indeed an art, not a science. According to Jean Klon, the author of A Statement of Leadership, is leadership more of an art or a science? She stated that leadership has been viewed as an art because it does not have fixed principles and requires a greater perception. Leadership involves creativity, feelings, and a particular sense of humanity, rather than something being involved with graphics or numbers. Leadership requires establishing connections with others and getting to know a deeper understanding of psychological context. Skilled leaders require the ability to maneuver through unclear circumstances, modifying their strategies, and coming up with solutions. Making choices as a leader should be based on knowledge and experiences rather than experiments. In the article, Great Leadership is Art, Susan Ward states that leadership is about taking a course of action and influencing and guiding others through behavior. Every individual has feelings and emotions, and the wonderful thing about that is that they can connect with one another by doing this rather than connecting with graphics or numbers. Understanding and utilizing these unique skills to accomplish objectives is the art of leadership. Empathy, emotional intelligence, and effective communication is seen as more artistic than scientific. In summary, although scientific concepts can drive leadership practices, the essence of artistic leadership is a human touch, flexibility, and creativity needed to mentor and inspire others. Great leaders are frequently distinguished by their capacity for critical and innovative thought. Humans are complex living beings with a wide range of wants, needs, and personalities. And as a young leader myself, I would like to collaborate with different team members who share different perspectives to increase my knowledge. That is the art and beauty of leadership. Now I will be passing it on to Kaylee to wrap us up.
Thank you. Our society is in a constant rate of change. Its evolutionary adaptations cause new customs, new values, and even changes in leadership. What was once believed to be an exemplary perception of what a leader was in the past is shades different from what it is now. Leaders used to check all the boxes or be within a select few characteristics. The rigidity in this black and white point of view removed the complexity from leadership and constricted individuals' belief in themselves to be the leaders they want to and can become. Therefore, as leaders, it is necessary for us to understand and find that middle ground with our followers and know that there is gray and that that's okay.
Gray is okay.
Good evening, everyone. My team and I are going to wrap up this summit by debunking the myth that leadership is power over people. My name is Caroline Olson, and today I have with me Kaki DeBose, Megan Story, and Filiberto Avila. Philly's now going to give us a little brief introduction.
Thank you, Caroline. Hopefully that wasn't too loud. So in our organizational leadership landscape today, leadership is no longer reserved to those at the top. It is a collective endeavor, a process of mutual influence, and a co-creation of meaning among team members. Through a thorough examination of various leadership theories and models, our team decided to focus on the relational leadership model. As the quote reads, "Leadership is always dependent on the context, but the context is established by the relationships we value." Throughout this presentation, my colleagues and I will be discussing the various aspects of the relational leadership model and how it applies to our everyday life. The 5 guiding principles of this model include ethics, inclusivity, empowerment, process, and purpose. Now I'll hand it over back to Caroline so she can get us started.
Thanks. Keeping an open mind is vital when trying to create an environment that fosters creativity. Possessing an open mind means that you listen to others with the intent to truly understand and consider their thoughts in your own lives. This mindset allows those around you to feel more comfortable expressing their own thoughts without a fear of judgment. Creating a safe space within your team is step 1 in fostering an interactive experience. Teams high in open-mindedness have proven to be more curious when it comes to new ideas and approaches. Psychological safety is the cognitive flexibility promoted by open-mindedness. It creates an environment where others' thoughts are welcome and thinking out loud is accepted. If leaders feel as if they're in a position of power over people, then those following them will never be able to reach this point of psychological safety. Therefore, the atmosphere will stay very closed and non-creative. Dr. Brene Brown, a research professor at the University of Houston, states in her blog, "Open hearts and open minds are critical if we want to be brave. Remember, it is not fear that gets in the way of courage, it's armor." The word fear is defined as an unpleasant, often strong emotion caused by an anticipation or awareness of danger. It's your body's way of alerting you to a threat, whether that be psychological or physical. We've all heard the phrase putting up walls before, and I believe this is exactly what Dr. Brown is referencing. Once fear is recognized, a person has 2 options: to dive headfirst into the situation, risking potential harm to themselves, or to put up a wall as a first line of defense, therefore limiting themselves to the opportunities they might have had to learn from. I want everyone to think about a time that they're going through currently in which they might be limiting themselves. What are you afraid of? And what armor have you put up in place to protect yourself from that fear? You'll see in the Summit workbook that there's a space provided for you guys to imagine what it might look like if you were to dive headfirst and bravely face whatever your situation may be. What opportunities would you have to learn from, and how could you potentially grow as an individual? Being open-minded means that you're able to learn from others' thoughts and ideas. Learning doesn't mean that you'll change your own thoughts or opinions, but simply grow in knowledge. It allows you to become more aware. It allows you to live your life in a way that is more approachable to others. We are all human, and we all long for communication and kind interactions. As leaders, it is our duty to ensure that no one feels as if they're in a position of submission. It is our duty to maintain an empowering environment so that those around us feel as if they can become leaders in their own lives. Leadership is not about serving yourself, it's about serving those around you, which Kaki will now dive deeper into.
Thank you, Caroline. Servant leadership is the foundation of true power. There is a profound impact and effectiveness servant leadership has on fostering positive organizational dynamics. Servant leadership is a relational approach centered around ethical values, empowering team members, and cultivating strong interpersonal relationships. At its core, servant leadership is deeply rooted in the relational leadership model, as well as ethical and moral values. Leaders who adopt this philosophy prioritize the well-being of others and act out of a sense of duty and commitment to making ethical and socially responsible decisions. In a world where ethical leadership is increasingly crucial, servant leaders stand out as a beacon of integrity. One key aspect of servant leadership lies in its emphasis on enabling and empowering team members. Servant leaders recognize the potential within each individual and actively work towards their growth and development. By creating an atmosphere that nurtures both personal and professional advancement, servant leaders foster a sense of hope and fulfillment among their team, which results in a more motivated and eager workforce. In addition, servant leadership places a high value on building strong interpersonal relationships. As Caroline said, we long for communication and kind interactions. Leaders committed to serving the needs of others understand that making meaningful connections contributes to a positive work culture. By prioritizing relationships, servant leaders foster an atmosphere of trust, collaboration, and open communication, which in turn enhances team cohesion and promotes a sense of unity and shared purpose. There is true power and proven success found within servant leadership that's based on ethics, empowerment, and genuine relationships. Servant leadership is beneficial to everyone involved and is a life-giving way to lead, which allows a leader to lead authentically, which Megan will talk more about.
Thank you, Kaki. If servant leadership is about the act of enabling and empowering team members, then authentic leadership is about creating a space so that you and your followers can become better leaders. In the dual-pronged approach of relational and authentic leadership, values are integral to leading in a way that an entire team can get behind. If there's anything that I've learned from LEAD, it's that to make something impactful, you have to make it about other people. When we do things for other people, we learn more about ourselves, and when these actions are in line with our values, we derive greater happiness and satisfaction from them. In a study conducted by researchers from the University of Oklahoma and the University of South Korea, it was investigated the correlation between values and authentically leading in the workplace. They distributed questionnaires to 3 of the top 10 companies in South Korea, to low-level staff and management. Through these questionnaires, they discovered that employees under this style of leadership were more engaged with each other and the culture of the workplace, leading to a greater feeling of belongingness and satisfaction from their jobs. In her study on creating culture through authentic leadership, Jacqueline Farrington writes that the authentic self is created in each moment. A misconception about authenticity is that it's a rigid form of being, when really an authentic self is leaning into different parts of your authentic self in each moment. This can be very intimidating because being authentic opens you up to a new form of criticism that's more personal than anything else. But this vulnerability is important to creating a sense of community in a team. And it is a leader's responsibility to welcome this vulnerability and team members' responsibility to engage in this vulnerability. It allows for more room for diverse opinions and for leaders to feel empowered to make other leaders, which Philly can talk more about.
Thank you, Megan. So to continue to dispel the myth that leadership is power over people, and based off of the presentation of my 3 colleagues with me, I'm going to continue to talk about the relational leadership model in each stage. So the foundation of everything is ethics, whether it's in your personal life or in your leadership life. Ethics lays the foundation for trust and credibility within a team. True ethical leaders allow the success of the team and others above their own. The next pillar is inclusivity. We have to surround ourselves with people. Not only do we have to surround ourselves with people that look different than us or have different perspectives than us, but we have to genuinely create and form a relationship with these people. This allows for the foundation of collaboration and a diverse perspective of ideas. The third pillar of the relational leadership model, and in my opinion, the most important one, is empowerment. We must empower those that we work with and that call us leaders. Empowerment allows people to discover their true and unique leadership style. The next step of the relational leadership model is process, which allows people, based off of the ethics, inclusivity, and empowerment, process allows people to understand how it is that they're working and what they're working towards. The last goal, or the last step of the relational leadership model is purpose. Purpose allows people to know how their contributions go with the bigger contribution, whether it's in an organization or a ministry or whatever the case may be. So, within the relational leadership model, we have underlined that the shared power of people. We have allowed them to know that they are contributing to the bigger idea instead of just having the individual at the top, as it is used in a more traditional approach. So, when talking to our team, we decided to kind of find a quote that related to the way that we dictate our relational approach in our leadership areas of life. And the quote reads, "No podemos buscar logros por nosotros mismos. Nuestras ambiciones tienen que ser lo suficientemente amplias como para incluir las aspiraciones y necesidades de los demás por su bien y por el nuestro." Which translates to, we cannot seek achievements for ourselves. Our ambitions must be broad enough to include the aspirations and needs of others for their well-being and for ours. I'm going to read it one more time. We cannot seek achievements for ourselves. Our ambitions must be broad enough to include the aspirations and needs of others for their well-being and for ours. And so, now that we have debunked 4 other myths, can I get a volunteer from the crowd? Yeah, I see all these hands. Quinn, yes. Where? Okay, yes, come join us. In the true spirit of empowerment, right? Perfect. You can come join us on stage, yeah. What is your name?
Cody.
Nice to meet you, Cody. Kaki's sister? Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna give you this, and then we're gonna count backwards from 3, and then you'll click it. Okay? That's it. Okay, and then the crowd is gonna help us say the words. Okay, 3, 2, 1. Busted! Yay! Thank you so much. Yes.
Y'all give the senior scholars one more hand. I was just sitting there thinking this whole time, I was like, you know what? I have done public speaking for 30 years, and I still get really nervous. Just tonight, Rick and I were in the office, like going over our lines and what we were going to say, and guess what? I didn't say anything I was supposed to say. So I understand, but even just the scholars having to speak in front of their peers, that's another step or another layer of difficulty. And then I was like, and their parents, a lot of the parents are in the crowd, and that's even another layer of difficulty. So one last time, give them a round of applause. Great job, scholars. We're very proud of you. So when we're, just to finish, I'm going to ask our reigning lead scholar of the year, Philly, to join me on stage. Philly, do you mind? We're going to do a raffle real quick, and then I'm going to let you finish up here in just a second. Yes.
Vanessa Vidana. I know Vanessa, I saw you here.
Is she here?
Yeah.
Vanessa, come to the front. Congratulations, Vanessa. This is yours for the taking, okay? So before Philly wraps us up with a few thank yous, I just want to mention a couple of things. We're going to have some junior lead scholars out at the table as you're leaving tonight. Everyone in the room gets a free t-shirt for being here. So please select either a long sleeve or a short sleeve, and our scholars will get that for you. At the conclusion of the event, we'd like our senior scholars to come up on stage so we can get a quick picture before you head out. And of course, there's more food, so we'd love for everybody to have some more food before you leave. So, Philly, thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly. So yes, as we conclude this program, we would like to thank some people that made it possible and helped us with our nerves a little bit. First, Dr. Carolyn Baum and Ms. Paula Schlegel, if you are present, if you could please stand. We want to thank you for your time and being our celebrity judges and helping us just, develop some speaking skills. Next, we want to thank our Executive Vice President and Provost, Dr. Neil Terry, for his support of the program. I don't think he's here, but we still would like to clap for him. Next, Evelyn Montoya. All of the graphics, all of the workbooks, all of the designs that came with this presentation couldn't have been done without her expertise. So thank you, Evelyn. And of course, we want to thank the JBK staff, specifically the two guys in the back. Yeah. Thank you for making all of this work. So thank you. I appreciate it. And then last but not least, Riley. I know you're here if you can stand. Yeah. Riley created and put together this PowerPoint for us. So that's a lot of work over what, 80 slides? I think, yeah, 86 slides. There you go. So thank you, everyone, and thank you for everyone for coming out tonight. We appreciate your support, and please hang back and take some pictures. Thank you.